Hey, welcome to Wing Chair Books. I'm your host, Michael Filippone. Today I want to tell you about a book I read last night, and I liked it. Kind of liked it, kind of didn't. I'll tell you about it. It's called, that's the back. It's called Flowing in the Gossamer Fold by Ben Spivey. That's the spine, and that's the back. You already saw the back. This book is 165 pages. That's how thick. It's 5 inches by 7 inches. It's that kind of unofficially standard small press dimensions of book, 5 by 7 inch. Anyway, let's talk about the book. Flowing in the Gossamer Fold is the very first release from Blue Square Press. Blue Square Press was founded by the writers David Peake and Ben Spivey himself. Like I said, this is the very first book from Blue Square Press. This came out in the late summer or early autumn of 2010, this past year. Like I said, I read it last night. At 164 pages, it's very short, not just because it's 164 pages, but it has a lot. I think it has 40 chapters, and each chapter is very short. I literally read the whole book in 2 hours on the dot. And like I said, I didn't totally love it, but actually when it started out, I didn't like it. But probably at least 20 or 30 pages in, I started liking it. And by the end, I really liked it. It was totally gradual. It totally got better with each chapter. So let me talk about it. It's kind of abstract in like plot and events and stuff of that nature. But basically, it starts out with a man. He isn't given an age in the story, but I imagined him to be between 40 and 50. He's kind of approaching middle age. He writes books and he does public speaking events. So he's basically like a motivational speaker. He tells people how to make money, how to get fit, how to get people to like him, basically how to lead better lives. He's a motivational speaker. And it starts out, the book, first or second chapter, starts out with his wife. Her name is Claire. She hands him a bag of her pubic hair, turns into a bird, and leaves him. And then right after that, he has to go make an appearance in which he's standing before a room full of people waiting to hear him speak about how to make money. I'll get that later. How to make money, how to improve their lives, but basically he has like a nervous breakdown and tells everyone he's on stage and everyone looking up at him, he tells them how his life is screwed up and he's washed up and he's just a mess. And then from there, basically, like I said, his wife left him. And then he ends up living in a cabin in the woods that was willed to him by his father. And the living in the woods part, that's probably the bulk of the book. I guess about the last at least 65 to 70% is what's going on when he's living in the house by himself in the woods. Like I said, a lot of abstract stuff going on, a lot of stuff with time. You're not aware as the reader, neither is he as the main character or protagonist, if you will. He's totally unaware of time, how it moves, how it's progressing, where he is within it. Like I said, I didn't like it when I first started reading it. The first couple chapters, totally was not into it, wasn't really impressed. I thought the idea of the motivational speaker and the self-help, self-improvement book writer like living a life of that, like he's totally out of control, doesn't have control over. I thought that was kind of like a cliched, very, very too easily ironic situation. But actually, after a couple of chapters, that almost becomes irrelevant. That's kind of just like the starting point to get him to get to the house, the cabin where he's alone. And then, like I said, for most of the 60-70% of the end of the book, it almost doesn't even come back into the story that he is a motivational speaker or writer, except for there are some references to people buying his books and whatnot. But like I said, some people might fault the book, saying it started out with the motivational speaker and then that whole plot development totally went astray. But I actually think that was when it started getting good. I'm going to read a part of the book to you. It's the last part in, it's the end of chapter 16. I'm going to read from the middle of page 61 to page 62. Like I said, they're the last paragraphs of chapter 16. Alright, so here is a selection from Floating in the Gossamer Fold by Ben Spivey. As soon as the sun broke, I put on a pair of shorts that allowed my thighs to breathe, laced my shoes, not wearing a shirt. I clearly remember the morning on my chest. I went running, feeling the sludge of the hangover quaking my temples. Morning dew rested on the tops of the parked cars lining the streets. The homes I passed, old and rustic, next to modern imitations. The duality of the new next to the old, or better yet, the original next to the imitator. I thought about those things, being and not being, consciousness and unconsciousness, life and death. I tightened my hands into fists, hard, freezing fists. I could feel the scars from the holes where she penetrated my palms, the stigmata. She called it her Jesus fetish. Running was euphoric. The flying was euphoric. I felt my heart beat better, that I was escaping. An escape, a religious experience. Feet racing over sidewalk. I ruptured vomit at half a mile. The sun lifted over the shoulders of the tallest buildings, the man-made horizon line. Suddenly the day had come. I had to leave. I wiped the vomit from lips and kept running, moving muscles. I ran until the earth was pulsing, until I shifted with the pull of the planet's rotation. My vision split into a line down the center. I was lightheaded between the conception of consciousness and the reality of it. I'd reached my physical limit, my limitation as a human, my limitation as an individual. I kept running. Time escaped me. So that's the end of chapter 16. This book had, I think, 5 different blurbs on the back and inside, and they were like totally big timer blurbs. Like on the back, it's that's Brian Evanson on the top, Gary Lutz on the bottom. Inside, Nick Antosca, Blake Butler, and James Iredell. So, 5 blurbs is not like a whole lot as far as, relatively speaking, but they're totally big hitters right there. And actually, I think every single one of these 5 blurbs is in reference to the book itself, not just Ben's writing in general. So that's pretty impressive if you're impressed by those types of things. Also, it's worth mentioning this book came with a stamp story. You may know stamp stories if you know, like it's a Mudluscious Press project. If you want to get familiarized, you can go to mudlusciouspress.com. It's the MLP Stamp Stories project. Actually, this year, Mudluscious is releasing a book. It's I think it's called C. It's just like an anthology of all the stamp stories. I mentioned these in another video. Basically, it's a very small story in a stamp, and on a stamp on a little cardstock. This story is by Jack Betcher, and I'll read it to you. Each evening, she's ushered home as a parole by the city's cloud service. The cabs are always so dirty, she says, but the attendant's gloves shine like dollops of cream. A bed grown cold for sleep. Not another word to the mice whose ashen shit adorns our fry pan. So that's a stamp story by Jack Betcher. Actually, Jack has a book coming out from Blue Square Press this year, 2011. I think it's called Theater State. So that'll probably be the second book from Blue Square Press. Anyway, that's Flowing in the Gossamer Fold by Ben Spivey. I didn't like it, and then I did. You might like it. You can check it out at bluesquarepress.com. And if you read it, let me know what you thought. I'd love to hear your ideas in the comments. Besides that, I will see you next time. Take care.